Hello, everyone. This is John Lee, your local agent, your Philadelphia and Greater Philadelphia real estate agent. And I'm here with my buddy Hoan Thai, also another real estate investor.
I'm a real estate investor as the framework for people to understand who I am. So I used to work in corporate America, and that's how I knew I hated it because I would go to work and I'd just be like, why am I here? And how long do I have to be here? Another 40 years? I can't do this. No way.
So, like, where's that fine barrier and that fine line of making sure that this person, whether you're coaching or you're teaching or anyone for that matter, has enough information to take massive action?
That's the thing that I get to help people with. It's like creating that, I want to call it like the proper identity. It's just like
Mhm.
keep the main thing, right? There's all of these kind of things that you got to ask yourself. What am I good at? What do I like? What kind of schedule do I want to keep? Am I willing to change how I do things, or am I willing to get rid of the thing altogether? Do I have enough courage for that? So courage, optimism, reframe, endurance, right? So that's the core. That's that core framework of having like a good mindset to be in this, to make these changes.
Obviously, this has gone deeper than the actual real estate investing aspect that we had initially talked about, which is awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it's funny that you actually said all of the words in one of the frameworks that I have. It's knowledge, confidence, action, results. Like that is literally the framework, right? You got to have the knowledge to then build up that confidence so that you can take the action to get the result that you actually want.
John Lee Real Estate. Hello, everyone. This is John Lee, your local agent, your Philadelphia and Greater Philadelphia real estate agent. And I'm here with my buddy Hoan Thai, also another real estate investor. I know we've gone back to back weeks with investors, but I really want to provide as much value for the next couple of weeks here. And Hoan, if you want to introduce the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Let's see. What is a good introduction? What would the audience care to hear? You know your audience better than me. What should I share with them as an introduction?
I think personally, your story brings a lot of value, especially coming where most people are working and your theme is 9 to 5, right? Everyone works 9 to 5, and your theme is to escape the 9 to 5. So if you can kind of walk through and explain how you got into real estate investing and your journey and how you got there and how you escaped the 9 to 5.
All right, so I guess that's my introduction, right? I'm a real estate investor as the framework for people to understand who I am. So yeah, I've been investing for almost 15 years now. I used to work in corporate America, and that's how I knew I hated it because I would go to work and I'd just be like, why am I here? And how long do I have to be here? Another 40 years? I can't do this. No way. And I see other people struggling with that same thing, right? I had my coworkers who hate it. I have all my friends who hate it. Everybody I know who goes to a job hates their job, and their bosses hate their job too.
Right.
But it's what we're taught. So people go to work and they pay the bills, and then they do that for 40 years, and then they're old, and then that's it. So I decided that I needed a way out, but the way out wasn't to just go get another job because I'd just be in the same position, just in a different place. I needed to create a business or invest in real estate or something like that. I didn't even have real estate on the radar until I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which of course everybody who reads Rich Dad Poor Dad wants to become a real estate investor after that. But I actually took it really seriously because that is what I wanted my whole entire life. This freedom from having to go to a job, right? That freedom, that control over your time is such an amazing feeling because how many people actually have full control over what they get to do day in and day out? Like my mornings, every single day, I reflect on it. I actually take the time to be present to this idea of going, wow, I'm having a slow morning and it's intentional. And I get to have a slow morning every single day. It's like I used to go and get in my car and drive to work and sit in traffic and then deal with coworkers and bosses that I didn't care to choose, I didn't choose to be with or hang out with. So just being able to be present to the idea of having the slow morning, being able to handle whatever I need to handle at whatever pace that I want to handle it at. It's such a beautiful thing. And so real estate investing allowed that for me. Now, other people might have it through having a business or whatever, but I chose real estate because you own the asset and then you can put people in place to run the asset for you, like a property manager or a contractor, what have you.
Mhm.
And then you get to do whatever you want with your time. And I thought that was just the coolest idea. And then to buy the property using other people's money, like I don't even have to have my own money to buy the thing. And then I can have other people running the thing and then I get all of the benefits and I get to chill at home. Sign me up, right? And so that's how I got here. And I just been continuing to do that. And now I teach other people how to do that. And it's been a good life. Been a
Right.
good life.
And we're definitely going to get into the coaching aspect that you are that you have and that you promote, especially in the real estate space. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was obviously you had a 9 to 5 job, right? Like, what was that for you? Like just walk through, just like what did you do before real estate? What really? Well, you mentioned that you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but like, was there any other? What's the word for it? Was there any other like turning points for you to say, hey, this ain't it. I'm gonna go into real estate?
Just showing up at the job and just realizing that everybody hates it there. And you can see the misery on their faces. Like you can, even if you're not in corporate America now, you can imagine the kind of misery that people deal with on a day-to-day basis going to work. And so early on, I don't know how I knew, but like early on in my 20s when I'm in corporate America, I'm like, this can't be it. This cannot be it. Because here's the trick. Go look at your boss and then your boss's boss, and then ask yourself, do I want their lifestyle? Do I want to deal with their stresses? Do I want to have the kind of money that they have? All of this kind of things. What's their home life like, right? What are their hobbies like? Are they in shape? All of these important questions. And ask yourself, do you want any of that? Because if you don't want any of that, then you're in the wrong place because they're not going to have a custom track just for you. They're
Mhm.
like, okay, when you get promoted, then that's your next gig right there. You're looking at them, right? Do you want that? And the answer was always no for me. So I knew I needed to figure something out. So corporate America was just like a stepping stone of like, this is what you do. You go to school, you get good grades, and then you graduate and you get a job, right? Those were the stepping stones laid out in front of me. And I go, this stone sucks. Let me go somewhere else.
Right.
And while working, right, while working, I was like, okay, let me figure out my way out. And so I tried a whole bunch of other things, but it wasn't until I found real estate that worked for me to escape because it had the structure that I needed. It had a foundation that I could follow. It's like one of the ideas that I had was like, okay, I'm gonna create t-shirts and then sell them. Okay, cool. Why does anybody want to buy my t-shirt? Are my designs any good? And what's my competition like? And all these things, right? Whereas with real estate, it was just like, okay, Hone, you're gonna buy this building using other people's money, and then you're going to put it up for rent, or actually somebody else is going to put it up for rent for you, and then they're going to run the applications, they're going to lease it out for you, they're going to collect the rents, and then they're going to send you the money. Okay, that's awesome. And so that was clear. It's like people had a demand to move into that unit as a rental because people needed places to live, right? So my first deal was a 6 unit apartment building. So I had 6 units that generated thousands of dollars because people wanted to live in these units. Like that was crystal clear. Why would somebody want to buy my t-shirt? I don't know. Who was I to be selling t-shirts, right? Am I an artist? No. Am I like anyone famous? No. But with the apartments, they don't even know I exist. People just want the units because people need a place to live. So again, that business model really, really worked. The t-shirt one, though, there are a ton of people who make a lot of money with t-shirts. There's also a lot of people who don't, which was me. So the real estate business model worked really, really well. Plus, it's the business model that all like rich people follow, right? Because it has good tax benefits. And then we talked about using other people's money. It has the leverage. And going to the bank or talking to anybody about it, everybody understands real estate because it affects everybody. Everybody either lives or works or shops in real estate.
Mhm.
So again, it's a business model that everybody understands, everybody needs, and you get involved with it, then you get to have all of those benefits as well.
Yeah. So for our audience, I've met Hone through the real estate space. Like, the real estate circle is extremely small, and especially in the Asian communities where we're kind of also pretty tied in pretty closely as well. That's how I got to know Hone over, I would say, past 8 years, probably maybe even longer. But with that being said, because of your credibility, your credentials, and especially in your field, which you're doing now, which is coaching when people come up to you, right, asking you for real estate advice or coaching advice, where are you finding some common pitfalls? And if someone comes up to you, how do you know immediately if they are going to be, whether, if they're going to immediately be a good or bad student?
One of the things that makes a person a bad student, I don't even want to call them bad, but their probability of success I've seen goes way down when everything's like, oh, I gotta think about it, or like, let me get back to you in a month, or like anything that causes people to like just delay that ripples throughout their life. They're delaying me, they're delaying other opportunities. They're just like everything's a delay. Let me think on it kind of thing. And with real estate investing, you don't really have that time. For example, if I said, John, I got this property, do you want to buy it? It's a really good deal. It's just not in my neighborhood that I like to invest in, but it's a deal for you. And I go, John, do you want it? And you go, oh, hold on, let me get back to you next week or something like that, right? And like you don't have a strong decision muscle. I'm just going to bring it to somebody else, right? I probably already shot it to four people at the same time. You just happen to be one of them. And if you sleep on it, then you just missed out on that opportunity, right? And then if I talk to them and I'm like, okay, well, it sounds like you want to be a real estate investor. It sounds like you could be a real estate investor. Here's an opportunity that I have where you can work with me, where I could accelerate your learning curve. I can accelerate your results. Here's the opportunity. And you're just like, well, okay. I mean, hey, it doesn't affect me because I'm already doing real estate. I know what I'm doing. I have students to work with, but it's going to delay you. And so whatever results you want, the sooner you can act on it, like the sooner you like take some kind of action, even if it's just joining a program and getting around the people who are already in the business, like the sooner you do that, the sooner you get your results. If you postpone that, you're going to postpone all of it. Like
Mm,
every benefit that I get to experience in my life because of real estate investing, you're just postponing all of that.
sure.
And that's what the people who are unsuccessful are the people who just delay everything and they're just like, why am I stuck? How come things aren't working out for me? How come this, that, the, right? It's like a victim mentality. It's like, but you did it. You're the one who's telling me later. So change that, strengthen your decision-making muscle, and all of a sudden your life starts to change because you're now
Mm.
taking action to get new results.
Yeah, so I think there's a fine balance too, right? Like I think in order for someone to, and I'm trying to speak for the audience perspective as well, right? If someone wants to take massive action, there needs to also be a level of confidence in taking that action, right? So in order to gain that confidence, either you have to be like just a confident person in general. Maybe that requires knowledge, right? A lot of that knowledge also comes with that confidence, but then, some people want too much knowledge to the point that they don't take action. So, like, where's that fine barrier and that fine line of making sure that this person, whether you're coaching or you're teaching or anyone for that matter, has enough information to take massive action?
Yeah, it's funny that you actually said all of the words in one of the frameworks that I have. It's knowledge, confidence, action, results. Like that is literally the framework, right? You got to have the knowledge to then build up that confidence so that you can take the action to get the result that you actually want. Um, and then there's this idea of like people have like too much knowledge. The, it seems that way. It seems like they just go after more and more and more knowledge, but they're actually kind of diluted in their knowledge. They didn't actually focus what they're learning to go from A to Z so that they have a clear path. Because if they did, then they would have confidence. If you're like, okay, today I'm learning about real estate, and then tomorrow I'm learning about AI, and then the
Mhm.
next day I'm learning about crypto, and the next day I'm learning about spaceships, right? And you're learning about everything. You're highly knowledgeable. What you didn't do was go really deep into any one of those things where you can actually see how the process works from A to Z. When I was first doing my first deal, the 6 unit apartment building, like I did not have the confidence to actually say yes to doing the deal because I couldn't picture it. It's like, okay, how do I afford it? And then how do I rehab it? And then how do I get my money back? And how do I lease it up? And all of these questions, like I didn't know the answer to.
Right,
I knew a lot about a lot. I was a highly educated person, but I actually didn't have the knowledge I needed, right? The knowledge I needed to be confident. So we have to focus the knowledge that you're consuming, right? So there's a big difference being knowledgeable and then having like this focused knowledge to be actually confident to take action. So
right,
people who don't have confidence is because they don't have enough of the right knowledge. Because
right,
if they had that clarity, then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm in. If I was like, John, do you want to buy this Ferrari? Right? And you'd be like, I don't know. I'm like, dude, it's a really good price. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, right? You see how you don't have the confidence yet. It's, dude, I only need 100 grand from you to buy this Ferrari. You're like, ah. But I said, hey, John, my friend is buying Ferraris. He can move this. He's a exotic car collector or whatever, right? And this other guy, he's selling a Ferrari. I need 100 grand. If you're interested in being a part of this deal, you bring the 100 grand. You're gonna come walk away with 150 grand. All we're gonna do is move it from this person to this person, and we're gonna have the control all the way through. And I show you every step, and I show you all the paperwork and how it's gonna work, and you can assess the risk. And you're like, okay, I'm good with this. All of a sudden you have the confidence because it's like hyper focused. It's not like, oh, hey John, you want to be a part of this real estate deal or this car deal? It's it's better education, right? It's better knowledge around what you need to know in order to take or get the confidence to take the action.
Right.
So that's the difference. People think they know, they think they're highly knowledgeable. They're not, or they're just knowledgeable in the wrong stuff. That's the thing. I think if they
Yeah,
have
I
a clear
mean,
picture, then they'd
the
be
the
more
other thing that I want to add is like if you guys are building an IKEA furniture set, right? I don't know about you, but I don't look at the whole entire book and read the whole entire instructions from start to finish. I look at the instructions and piece it together step by step, if that makes any sense.
okay.
So the point that I'm trying to make is Igor and I last week we talked about this because he's also obviously another real estate investor. For me, the way that I learned was I actually did it step by step. So I went to my mentor. I asked him a question. He told me to do that one step. I did it. I showed massive action in taking that one step. Then I went to step two, then step three. I think for certain people, it requires a certain level of mindset. But for me, it was just a step-by-step process. I mean, what are your thoughts on that as far as like coachability for someone? Like, is that like the best approach you think? Or because I would say one way or the other is also like as far as extremes can be a bit dangerous. If you have someone that's extremely zealous without really thinking, then that could be a disaster, right? Or if you have someone that's extremely high level thinker or critical thinker, but not massive action, that's not going to get anywhere either. So like, where's that fine balance that you're finding in your success with coaching?
Uh, So you're absolutely right if someone's like overzealous and they're overconfident without the knowledge, right? They went like, oh yeah, I know, and they just jumped over knowledge and they
Yeah,
didn't actually have focused knowledge and they're just like, I'm confident I can do this, and then they start taking action. Yeah, it's like crash and burn. So
right.
this is actually why it's important to have a coach, because a coach will see this person, well, a good coach anyway, will see this person, have a conversation with this person, and easily pick out that this person does not know what they're talking about and be like, whoa, hold on, before you jump into that, let me show you why this deal isn't such a good deal, even though you think it is, and even though you're willing to do it, right? And then as a coach, I get to reel them back. And then a different person who's like, oh, I have all this knowledge, I can't take any action. There's something holding me back. The coach can also look at that person and be like, oh, I actually see what's holding you back. It's just this little thing, this little bit that you're scared of. And then we take that away or take that off of your plate, even, right? Because like somebody might be like, "Oh, dude, I know how all of this works. It's just the contracting piece, right? Hiring a contractor. That makes me really nervous." I go, "Oh, don't worry. I can handle that." Right? I literally hone, I can handle the construction of your project. They go, "Really?" I go, "Yeah. Like I have a crew. Like I could literally take that piece over." "Oh, then we're good." And then off the races, right? And so I can't say there's like, oh, how come John didn't invest, or how come Bob didn't invest, or how come he's successful, how come he's not successful. There's too many variables to
Well,
actually nail
part
it down.
part of that also, Hone, is your ability as a coach or anyone for that matter that's trying to help someone is to ask the right questions, right? Just asking the questions of figuring out what is their biggest fear and how you can help them overcome that fear by either giving them or instilling confidence or helping in that process and mentoring them and getting them through the finish line.
You know what's funny? It's sometimes it's sometimes asking the right questions, and then it's sometimes just listening to the words that they're not saying. And that's the hard part, right? It's like, let's say you're getting into an argument with your wife, and she's like saying, "Oh, this is the problem. This is the problem." And then underneath it all, you're like, "You know what? I don't think that's true. It's actually because I didn't fold the laundry the right way a week ago." And you're still mad about that, but you're triggered by something else today, and you're saying you're mad about that, but it's really the other thing. It's the
Right.
laundry, right? And so students will say that because I can be like, "Hey, John, what are you afraid of?" And you might say like, I don't know, man. I'm just afraid like I'm gonna lose money or this or that, right? It's like, okay, how? I don't know. It's all these things. It's like, what if the deal goes bad and all that kind of stuff? Like I can ask that, and they'll be generic because they don't even know why they're being held back, right?
Hmm.
Like I have to hear it and kind of feel it and sense it. So that's, I guess, what the difference between like a really good coach and maybe not so good of a coach is, that like sometimes it's what you don't say that I can pick up on that will help free you, like unlock your mind to go take action. So sometimes, yeah, it's all good questions, and then other times it's just intuition, which is really neat.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, would you suggest for someone that is trying to ask for help? or that either is getting coaching or asking for help, for them to be extremely straightforward. I think that's a stupid question to ask, but like the point that I'm trying to make is like maybe they're afraid to ask you those questions, or maybe they are afraid of the result of the answer of those questions. So like how do you like what would you suggest for someone that is not, I mean, if someone's getting coaching from you, right, home, right? Let's just say someone's getting coaching from you, like why wouldn't they want to give you like an honest question or an honest answer, if that makes any sense?
Oh, it's easy. They don't know what the answer actually is,
Okay.
right? Okay. Therapists exist, right?
Yes.
If a person could just like fix the thing, right? Because it's just a mental thing, right? Why do they need to go to a therapist?
Yeah.
Think about it. Like why aren't they just straightforward with themselves? They just fix themselves. Why go to a therapist and talk to a therapist at all? And a therapist is sitting there just writing. It's because the person actually never took the time to actually think about what it is that they want, what is it that they need. They just go through the motions of the day. And so if I ask somebody like, hey, would you like to invest in real estate? People will be like, oh, of course. And I go, okay, why don't you? When I ask them, like, why don't they? They're going to come up with the same regular things. Oh, my credit score is not good, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the experience, or I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the confidence, right? It's like all of these little things. They don't realize that maybe it's because their mom would not think it's a good idea because they think having a job is safer. And so they don't actually do it because of that. Like, they can be straight up with me, but they don't realize that there's this little nagging from their mom that make them say, "Hey, this
Right.
is why I don't do it." Like same as a therapist. It's like you just they don't know the answer. That's why they don't. They're not straight up with me. They're not so forward with me because they don't know.
Mhm.
Most people never actually take the time to be present with their own life and what they want from it, and also like what they need from it. For example, I have this thing called the ARV. That stands for after repair value in real estate. But in my own philosophy, in my company, what I'm making ARV stand for is after reflection vision. What is the vision of the life that you actually want? And what I want you to do is I want you to picture yourself. I don't know, you're like in your 30s or whatever, right? Picture yourself 50 years from now when you're on your deathbed, or 60 years from now, however old, right? You're like laying there. I want you to have a vision of what your life looked like, all of the good things, like how many kids you had and how much free time you had to spend with them, and all of the things that are important to you. Did you actually get to be with the people and do the things you loved? And most people just go through life and they just accept whatever is coming to them, right? And they just live based on whatever is available. So nobody, or not nobody, not many people actually are present. And so I say presence is a daily practice. You have to be present to what's available, what you want, and also what you don't want. So create the life from an after reflection vision. Like you're creating the vision after you reflect on it. You have to take the moments to think about it. Most don't think about what they want and how they want it. They just go like, yeah, I want to be a real estate investor. Or really what they're saying is, I want to make more money. How? I don't know. I just, real estate sounds good. Okay, let me do that. Okay, what would you do in real estate? I don't know. It's like, what are you good at? I don't know. I've just had a job my whole life. Okay, you see, like people just, they
Yeah.
don't know anything about themselves. They don't know anything about industries that they're going into. They're just like, I want more money because I think more money equals a better life. But what does a better life even mean to you? What does it look like? What if you were working 12 hours a day? You had 10 times more money. You were working 12 to 16 hours a day. You weren't seeing your family. You weren't seeing your friends. Is that a better life? And the answer is probably no, right? Nobody actually wants to work
Right.
that much and then not see their friends and family and all that, right? Because what was the point of it all? I need people to actually just pause before they actually say they want to be a real estate investor, before they sign up for any coaching, before any of that kind of stuff. Just pause for a second and be like, yo, what is it that you actually want? What are you present to? What are you good at? What do you like? Who do you want to spend your time with? Those are the kind of questions that you need to ask yourself and have really good answers to. And then before you pick your niche of like real estate investing, find out what comes natural to you. Where's your genius zone? Where can you add value? And what can you see yourself doing for a long time? What feels like play when you're doing it, right? Where are you in flow? People don't know any of that stuff about themselves. So
Mhm.
your question is like, oh, how come people aren't straight up? Because they don't know the answer.
Right. So I
Like,
think I think what you're saying is this coaching or this level of coaching goes beyond real estate.
oh
It's
my God, real estate's
yeah,
a tool.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with real estate, really. Real
Yeah.
estate's just a
Yeah.
vehicle to make money. I tell people all the time I don't even like real estate,
Hmm.
right? But the business model works extremely well.
Yeah.
Right? And it fits the life, it fits and serves the vision that I created after reflecting on what kind of life I want. ARV, after reflection vision. Real estate is the tool, and even how I do real estate is completely different than how you do real estate because there's so many different ways to do it. People just think, oh, I'm going to get into real estate, I'm going to buy single family homes near me. Ta-da. It's like, no, you don't even have to do that. Like, I don't know what your situation is, but there's so many different ways to do real estate. Like, there's a framework, doc, like doctor, right? Doc, deals, operation, capital. Like, those are three very different buckets within real estate that you can spend your whole career just doing that, right?
Hmm.
C, capital. You can just spend all of your time and energy raising capital for other people's deals. And you can get paid interest or you can get paid in equity when you bring the money to those deals. And it doesn't even have to be your money. I can raise money from all of these different people and then go, hey, John, I see that you're working on a deal. Do you have the money for it yet? And you'll say, no, not yet. And I go, okay, I can provide the money. How about you give me a return on that money or you give me equity, which will yield a return on that money? And then you go, sure. And if it works out for you, works out for me, then voila, I'm a capital guy within real estate. I don't even own the property, right? It's like you,
Yeah.
this is your deal.
Yeah.
So many different ways you can do real estate. Just people don't know that. And so when they say, when you ask, like, do you want to be in real estate? Sure. In what way? I don't know. What do you mean, Hone? What do you mean, what way? I thought you just buy real estate. It's like, maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? There's so many levels to it, so many layers to it.
Yeah.
So before we do any of that, before you pick your niche, just figure out what comes natural to you. Who are you? Are you good at networking, or are you just, or are you like better at like staying to yourself and being organized? So can you run operations for people? Can you help them stay organized? Maybe you can be a COO for somebody versus being the CEO.
Right.
So many different ways to do it.
I think it's also it really comes down to the power of why, right? I think if you ask yourself why, right, 6 times, I think that's the exercise, and
Hmm.
you'll get to the true root of why you do the things you want to do. Like, I think real estate, I would say in the past, what, 4 or 5 years, it's probably become like the new men's hot yoga, right? Like it's gotten pretty cool, right? Like being an entrepreneur, I feel like in the past 5, 6 years in general has become a little bit more cooler. But it's gotten its popularity. But I think what people don't realize is why are you doing it, right? Yeah, I want to get into real estate because I want to make a lot of money. Well, why you want to make a lot of money? Well, I want to provide for my family. Well, why do you want to provide for my family? Well, my parents weren't really around to help me provide. Well, why, like, you ask yourself deep-rooted questions until the point where it becomes extremely motivating for why you do what you do. And in your case, you might not even like real estate, but it provides your why. It provides you why you do what you do. So I think if you're coaching people in that regard and you're really helping them and helping them understand that real estate is just a vehicle to get to their why. I think that's a great tool.
Yeah, but as I said earlier, this this like reflection of their life and asking themselves things like why people don't do. They're not present, right? They're not making presence a daily practice. They're not asking themselves six whys. They're not even asking themselves one why,
Yeah.
right? It's an automatic voice in their head that goes like something's not right with my life. I'm unhappy. I'm heavier than I want to be. I'm disconnected from the people that I love. Like something's broken. That's an automatic voice in their head. And then there's another automatic voice that goes, "Oh, you can fix that with more money." And that's it. That's it. That's the whole conversation. So I go, do you want to invest in real estate? What your what your brain hears is, do you want to make more money? Yes. Because there is that automatic voice that said, make more money.
Everybody wants to make more money. Who doesn't want to make more money? But you have to figure out why. Like at the end
Also,
of
at what cost?
yeah, yeah,
That's
of
the other
course.
thing. That's the other big part. At what cost? Because I find that people make money and lose everything else.
Hmm.
Right? It's so terrible. It's so terrible that like people trade all their time and all of their energy to make more money and they go like this is the only way or like they created identity for themselves, right? And this is more of the education that I teach because like you don't need me to necessarily learn how to invest in real estate because there's a lot of information out there. What I do though is I do package it in such a way that makes it easy for people to understand how to invest in real estate, like the step by step. But more than anything, what I'm helping people do is helping them understand like what they should focus on and want in life. Because what happens is people become real estate investors and they say, I want to become a real estate investor because I want to make enough money to go snowboard around the world or something like that, right? I had a conversation where a kid said, I wanted to snowboard around the world. So I'm like, all right, fantastic. Keep that and keep that in your heart forever and ever. Because what happens is people go, I want to become a real estate investor so I can make a whole bunch of money. And then they leave out the snowboard around the world part. And they just want to make more money because they've created an identity as I'm a real estate investor.
Hmm.
I make money and I'm a badass. There was this time where I like wanted to be a badass entrepreneur or a badass business owner. And like it mattered to me if other people viewed me as badass, which means that in order to be a badass, I would need to do things or have results that other people would consider, wow, that's badass, which means I might take risk that I shouldn't take to try to achieve this title. Why? Because I was attached to having this identity. And that attachment to the identity created suffering. So in Buddhism, they say life is suffering. And why is life suffering? Because of the attachments you have in life. So you buy a brand new car, and now all of a sudden, the suffering comes from if somebody scratches it, or you get into an accident, or you have to take it to the shop, or whatever, right? There's suffering because there's an attachment to this car. To remove the suffering, you have to remove attachments, including just these mental attachments. So this attachment to this identity about caring about the validation from other people. Like I needed to break away from that. And so people need, when becoming a real estate investor, to understand that real estate is just a tool to help you achieve what you really want and not to get attached to any kind of identity that might come along. And what's interesting is it happens without you knowing. It just,
Hmm.
you don't actively go, I choose to attach to this identity. Like that's not a conversation you have in your head, but there's always automatic voices in your head that are making
Right.
decisions for you.
Right.
And that's what you got to be careful of. And that's what I help remind people of. And remind might be the wrong word because you may not even know in the first place and never heard of anything like that, that attachment equals suffering, right? That might be a completely foreign concept to you. But when I bring it to your awareness and I go, look, you're kind of attached to this identity that you've created, like maybe you got to step away from that because you're going to end up creating a life that you don't want to try to live up to this identity that doesn't ultimately matter.
Right. Or if your identity that you're building is not in line with the goals that you set. So in the example that you gave, right? If someone wants to travel around the world and go snowboarding, but you build your identity on pride, if you build your identity on wealth, right? Like they don't really align with each other. I mean, to a certain extent, you do need to bring a certain kind of level of wealth and income in order for you to travel around the world and snowboard, right? But like you said, to what expense? And Hone, like, you've held me accountable along with some other group of guys from GoBundance, right? Where you guys have, even told me, because I've been extremely busy in my field, right? As a realtor, like I'm showing houses past 5 o'clock, right? There's been moments in time where I'm not even coming home to be in the bed, to be in bed with my wife, or, even putting my son down, right? So like those are things that even I've had to deal with and trying to figure out the difference of my identity and even like building out a team, right? Even for someone like me, like, hey, John, go get an assistant. I think the conversations that I had with a lot of people was, hey, you'll get an assistant, you'll make more money. I'm like, guys, like, getting the assistant wasn't the aspect of making more money. It's honestly to buy back some time so that I can be with my family. And here I am, I'm learning all these things as we speak. So I think this is a very touching subject even for me. So
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of different philosophies and things that I think people should at least get a chance to hear because you get to pick and choose what you want to adopt. You don't have to adopt all philosophy. Somebody listening to this might go like, "Oh, that guy, he sucks." Like, no, it's all about making more money. Like, who cares how or whatever? Just make more. And it's like, yeah, if you subscribe to that, then who am I to stop you, right? I'm just saying, I've seen breakdowns. I've seen breakdowns where people adopt this identity of being a badass real estate investor, badass business owner, entrepreneur, whatever, right? And they're just trying to be impressive to people who really don't care about you. And it's like, dude, go back to what's important. Like figure out what that is and figure out how you can get that and spend time with the people you care about because we walked through a series of one-way doors, meaning like the door opens, you walk through, it shuts behind you, and you can't go backwards in time, right? There is massive regret that occurs when you build the wrong life because you can't go in reverse and say like, okay, I'm going to do that over. I obviously went the wrong direction. It's like, sorry, you're 10 years older. I had a guy who was 42, I think, when he first met me. This was 10 years ago. And he sat through one of my educational things, right? And it was like, okay, well, if you'd like to work with me, here's how you do it. And then he was like, oh, maybe, I'll think about it, whatever. He didn't do it, right? Back to the original thing. He didn't do it. He just delayed it. He reached out recently, 10 years later, and he goes, Hone, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I sat through your presentation that you had 10 years ago, and I didn't do anything then. And guess what? I didn't do anything in the last 10 years. And now I'm 10 years older. I haven't built any more wealth. Now my knees hurt. It's harder for me to do anything that I thought I was going to do, right? My kids have grown up, so I missed all that. And so you could just see his regret in his eyes of like, why? Why did I do that?
Yeah.
And we get to learn from other people. We don't have to make their mistakes to understand those mistakes, right? So I watch him, and that's why I have this idea of like take action, even if overzealous. Sometimes overzealous action is better than inaction because at least you are a little more forward in terms of your skill sets and also in terms of understanding what doesn't work and why it doesn't work, right? And then you also learn who you are and then you kind of like get guided towards what you want versus like what you shouldn't want. So even if you're a little overzealous, a little bit lacking the knowledge, what if it does work out? I'm always a big proponent of like, what if it does work out? Because everybody always says like, Hone, isn't that risky? Hone, what if this happens? What if that happens? But in a negative way,
Right.
I go, well, what if this happens in a positive way? It's kind of like, imagine if it was like 2015 and I was like, hey, John, there's this thing called Bitcoin. You can buy it for $5,000. And then you're like, but Hone, what if it drops to 1,000? John, but what if it goes up to 126,000? And then you're like, nah. Well, we all know what happened there. It went up to 126,000.
Yeah.
It's lower now, but I mean, look, it went up to 126,000. It's like, so what could happen? Yeah, it could drop down. It could go from 5,000 to 1,000, but it also could go the other way.
Right.
So watch out for regret. We're going through a bunch of one-way doors. You don't get redos, right? You don't get that time back. So just I don't know, just learn from different people, figure out a philosophy so that as you're going through life, you're not creating regret. You're going about it the right way and the right way for you. Like you have a child. I'm sure you want to spend more time with your child, especially because he's young, because you're going to miss out on many firsts. There's only like first time he takes a step, first time he says a word, first time he eats a certain thing, first time, right? And those are important because if those aren't important, what is important, right? So I think those are the most important. Being able to create a life where you get to observe those things. I mean, I think that's a good life. It's not about necessarily buying the Ferraris and Lambos and all of that stuff, right? It's not all about that. It's about like, were you there for the times that really mattered?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I get to help people with. It's like creating that, I want to call it like the proper identity. It's just like
Mhm.
keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
People often take the main thing, your friends, family, and all that stuff, and they go, "Hey, I'm doing this for you, right? I'm a badass real estate agent and doing all these showings for you. Why don't you understand that?" Right? It's like, I get it, bro, but is there not another way to do it?
Mhm.
That's the thing. It's just like keep the
Well,
main thing the
the
main
other
thing.
argument is you're not doing it for you. You might be even doing it for yourself. And
You're doing it
that
for
was
yourself. It's
yeah.
identity. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I would definitely fall in that category. And that was something that I had to battle myself, you know.
Oh, I know.
So these are all lessons that I can personally even say, you know, with some level of vulnerability and being honest even with myself. So
Let's
yeah,
let's
100% agree with you there.
let's talk about a little bit of frameworks and education for people, right? So there's a DAD filter I like. DADD, right? DAD. First is delete, second automate, third delegate, fourth do it. Okay, so step one is to delete. So when I'm running my life through this filter, there were these properties that needed a little bit of maintenance work. I had to lease them up and all this kind of stuff. And when they became vacant, I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna sell them. And I sold them. And all of the stress of holding on to these properties that I didn't like so much anymore, it all went away. So instead of figuring out who to delegate the responsibilities to, like which contractor to hire and finding the money to do the rehab and then leasing it and all that kind of stuff. I just deleted it. That's why delete is first, right? So I just delete it and it was just like fantastic. So it makes my life so much easier. Now, if you can't delete something, then maybe you automate it. And so, like an easy automation that I like is setting an automatic buy on my stock trading platform, where if a price drops below a certain number, automatically buys. So, setting up auto reminders, auto actions, those are pretty good, right? So, delete, automate, delegate. Oftentimes, we feel like we should do something, and you and I have had this conversation, but sometimes other people are better at doing it. And even if they're not better at doing it, you're still not doing it if they're doing it. And if they get it mostly right, then great. And will they be better the next time? Absolutely. So sometimes you want to delegate. When you can't delete it, when you can't automate it, then try to delegate it. When I was working in corporate America, at some point I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to do any more work. I'm just going to stop. My work just piled up. What I was doing instead was I was working on my real estate business. I was working on myself, learning skills, looking at properties, doing the analysis, going from A to Z. How would I do this deal? Does it work? What price do I got to buy it at? I was doing all of that. All of my actual work just piling up. So I couldn't delete it. The work was still coming in. I couldn't automate it. There was no software that could do the work. So I asked my boss if I can get an intern. And then so we hired an intern. I taught him how to do all of my work, and he did all of it. I delegated 100% of my work to my intern, and it all got done, and it was good enough. And I didn't have to do any of it. So amazing, right? So because the last thing that you want to do is to do it, and the last thing you want to do is do it because you are the most expensive in that whole equation. Deleting something is very cheap, very quick. Automating it is a little bit more expensive because you got to put software in place or something, right? So that's a little bit more expensive. Delegating means you have to hire somebody, and that costs more money. And then doing it yourself requires your time, which is invaluable. Because again, we're going through these one-way doors. You
Mm.
go through, you're spending all your time doing, showing property, showing property, showing properties. You don't get that time back. You can't go in reverse, right? So you doing it is the most expensive. That's why it's last. So sometimes you have to do the thing. You have to really question yourself. Do you have to do it? Does it even need to exist? Can you delete it altogether? For example, and I'll bring it back to you, John. Like, what if you weren't even a realtor and you did something completely different? You would delete the whole entire thing. Like crazy, like blasphemy. Home, me not be a realtor? Home, don't you know I'm a badass real estate agent? Don't you know? Don't you know who I am? Yeah, but what's it costing you? Maybe you don't have to automate anything. Maybe you don't have to delegate anything. You could delete the whole thing and live a whole different life. It's so nuts. So try to use this filter, DADD, and make sure you do it in that order and question everything. Because like me selling my properties and deleting them, that might have sounded like blasphemy for somebody who's like, oh, you got to build a big portfolio, Hone. Like you got to get those numbers up. Like maybe or maybe not.
Yeah.
So could I make money other ways? Could I replace the income that I lost from selling those
Yeah.
properties? I mean, I'm going to get capital gains, so there's a plus, right? But like that passive income, could I replace it with something else? Sure, you can delete, and that is such a weight off of people's shoulders. They have no idea, but they don't even think that that's an option. So that framework, killer,
Yeah,
killer.
no, this is so deep. Even for me, like someone who identifies as someone who owns, over 20 units, right? Like that's something that I like to advertise. And like for me to
Right.
get, yeah, almost like a measure of worth, right?
Absolutely.
Like, but here I am. I have Laura, my assistant, handling all the property management work. It's been very stressful handling that. And it's like, well, where are we looking at this? Are we looking like, does this identity match with my goals, right? Like, especially because you and I are very similar as far as aligned with being very family oriented.
Mhm.
So if the identity doesn't match their goal, then are we deleting, are we delegating, or are we doing something entirely different? These are all great questions we all need to ask ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. Most people just jump to do it because we've been taught to just do it ourselves, right?
Especially entrepreneurs, for sure. I would say yes, definitely for them to say, and especially for me, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, that's how you start. You just have to do it. I think being extremely action oriented is extremely important skill, and I think that's what kind of also makes it very difficult for us to then either delegate or delete or automate, right?
Yeah, as people chase more money, right? I need people to remember something, that it's peace that we want. I want you to seek your peace. You know how Nike says just do it? Well, my little slogan is seek your peace. At the end of the day, you just want peace. You don't want to be all stressed out managing employees and running around and showing people houses and then not seeing your family, and then you get home to your family, your kids asleep. Like, you don't want the life where you're all stressed out. Ultimately, you want peace. Peace is the ultimate profit. But in order to get there, you have to practice presence. Presence is a daily practice. You have to be there on a daily basis with yourself, asking yourself the tough questions. Am I deleting things properly? Am I automating things that could be automated? Am I delegating what can be delegated? Could I hire a showing agent that shows my properties? Do my clients actually need me to show it, or can I delete myself from that equation? Right? There's all of these kind of things that you got to ask yourself. What am I good at? What do I like? What kind of schedule do I want? And if the thing that I have chosen to do to make money doesn't fall in line with that schedule that I want to keep, am I willing to change how I do things, or am I willing to get rid of the thing altogether? Do I have enough courage for that?
Right.
Right? So these are tough questions that you have to do on a daily basis. You're not going to have all of the answers right away. You're not even going to have all of the questions right away. So you do it as a daily practice, because you also are evolving on a daily, right? Every single day, you are a different John every single day. And that new John is going to have new desires. He's going to have new wisdom, and he's going to need to be asked these tough questions again and again and again. And sometimes you change because your environment changes, because maybe the stress builds up so much that you're willing to delete things because you've got pushed over the edge,
Yeah.
right? You see how you will constantly change. Now, in order to do that, you're going to have courage. I call this the core framework, right? CORE. C stands for courage. You have to have courage to sometimes take the hard actions. And then O is optimism. You need to be optimistic that the action you just took is going to work out in your favor. You
Mhm.
have to have a little faith. You have to have courage, because you're not going to know which direction it's going to go, right? That's why it's courage, because
Right.
you don't know what's going to happen. But you got to have optimism that it is going to go your way. And now, if it doesn't go your way, you have R. You get to reframe it. Okay, what are you making that mean? Can you make it mean something else? Even if something doesn't go your way, let's say you were like late to go to a meeting, right? Let's say your car got a flat tire and you needed to change it or something like that, right? Or you need it because you drive a Tesla. You need to call Tesla to come switch your tire out or whatever, right? It's like, how do you reframe that bad situation that caused you to miss your meeting or be late to your meeting? Well, maybe if you were on time, you would have gotten T-boned by a big SEPTA bus or something like that, right? It's like, oh, okay. So you got to reframe when bad things happen. And finally, E is endurance. You have to have the strength to be in this for a very long time,
Yeah.
right? You have to give life the opportunity to give you luck. It may not happen immediately, and it may not happen for a while. It definitely won't happen in the time frame in which you expected it, but it might happen right after, right? You're like, okay, in the next week, things are gonna go great for me. And then it didn't happen in that week, but it happened in the next month,
Mhm.
right? So you have to have the endurance, E, to just stay in the game long enough. So courage, optimism, reframe, endurance, right? So that's the core. That's that core framework of having like a good mindset to be in this, to make these changes.
Yeah. I mean, this is so deep. Obviously, this has gone deeper than the actual real estate investing aspect that we had initially talked about, which is awesome, by the way. And to wrap things up, Hone, any parting words that you want to leave for our listeners?
I've seen a lot of people create lives that they absolutely hate. And it's both people who are entrepreneurs and employees. It's not that being an entrepreneur is the solution or being an employee is the solution or not the solution, right?
Right.
It's neither one of those. It's that people don't actually take the time to have a vision of a life that matters, where they keep the main thing the main thing. People need to understand what's truly important. And typically, what's important are things that are not external to you, like social media and how people view you, right? There's probably 6 people in your life, maybe 10, where their opinions truly matter to you. Those are the people that you're going to want to sculpt your life around, right? Those people. Everybody else, everything else, all of the opinions they have of you, it's just noise. Because if these external people, if these people that don't matter to you stress you out, like they say stuff, doesn't really matter. But let's say your wife or your kid or your mom or your dad, like if they say things, that matters. So you need to create a life that kind of caters to them in a way, but also serves you, obviously, but caters to them where you have peace at home and in your heart and in your head, right? Just seek your peace because peace is the ultimate profit above everything else. You can make more money, but if you don't have peace, you don't have anything.
That's so deep. And again, this is awesome. Definitely a very impactful podcast. And for our listeners, if they want to learn a little bit more about your perspective as far as how you coach, how you can coach them, more information about coaching, where can they follow you? Where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, they can go to my website. I'm actually having it redone right now. So by the time they hear this, it's probably going to be done. Simpleways2wealth.com. Again, simpleways2wealth.com. It, I figured, let me create.
You had to pay for that domain? That's like a
That's a
pretty,
good one, right?
yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what's funny? I paid for it, but not in the way you think.
Okay.
I paid $15,000 for a coaching program that taught me how to create a proper brand, if you will. It was like a branding
Yeah,
coaching program.
yeah,
And as you know, I used to run a program called Hoan Zone.
yeah.
But if you didn't know who I was, and even if you did know who I was, I said my company is called Hoan Zone. You wouldn't have any idea what that is. So I decided I needed to change the company name. So I changed it to Simple Ways to Wealth. And that took a while. That took a while to come up with. Like I had so many different company names and nothing really stuck the way I wanted it to. And then this one came to me one day after like just constantly beating on myself to pop out a name. This name popped out of my head somehow and I went and I checked and it was available. And I was like, oh my gosh.
That's pretty crazy.
So I bought it for the normal price of
Okay.
like $10 or $20 or whatever it was,
Yeah,
but I paid $15,000 to be coached to get there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So sometimes, like the coaching provides you a result that you didn't even know that you needed, but it was always right there. Like I didn't need to sign up for the coaching program to go on GoDaddy to buy the domain. I could have bought the domain without the coaching program. I needed the coaching program to get to that point though. So a good coaching program will get you a result that is so amazing. Sometimes you didn't even know you needed or wanted. I didn't know going into that coaching program that I would get this. Simple Ways to Wealth. It encapsulates everything that I've done for my whole entire life when it comes to business because I don't like or I don't want to have this huge company, this huge team with all these people and all these moving parts and all. I want it simple. And I like the word wealth because in Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about wealth is like being able to create income without having to work for it. So there's wealth. And now there's many different ways to do it. And let me show you a whole bunch of them. And I haven't even gone through like my Timmy framework. He's the person who causes you to lose money. Timmy, taxes, interest, mistakes, missed opportunities, and insurance, right? So Timmy causes you to lose money, right? So there's all these ways that I can help people create wealth, and I have been doing it for the last 15 years. Now I got a name that encompasses all of that. And now I'm like proud to create this company. And I'm like, all right, this one finally feels right because I've had so many companies in the past, different names, different branding. Like the one I thought was pretty good that I hung on to for a while was I escaped my 9to5.com. Like I have that one.
Yeah,
It just didn't feel right. It was okay. It was close. It was
yeah.
close, but it wasn't quite right. And then I switched it to Hone Zone. I was like, okay, shorter, better, it rhymes, all the things. Not right. This one feels right. Now, could it change in the future? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. So far, so good because it encompasses everything I do and it puts it into words. So, how can people reach out to me? Simpleways2wealth.com.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I put your links and descriptions in below. And guys, if you guys want to reach out, please reach out to Hone. Do you also have an Instagram, right? Instagram, Facebook. Do people?
Yeah, I am still building those. This is all
Okay,
brand new. This is
okay,
all brand new. The whole new
got you.
website and new Instagram and new YouTube and the whole bit. So it's coming together.
All right, cool. Well, again, just wanted to make sure I brought you on board here, Hone. And thank you so much for having this podcast with us.
You got it. All right. Thanks for having me.
All right.
John Lee Real Estate, find you the best rate. All throughout Philly, like Schuylkill Expressway. Talking to people who out of the 215, even the 267, who always helping, like, oh, no time for no student.